Hi, I'm Lizzie, and today I'm sharing a part of my story, one I've shared bits and pieces since Dina and I began the Matadoras. I married my first husband just 3 months after meeting him. We were both pastors' kids, and I believed wholeheartedly that this was the man God had chosen for me. On the surface, he seemed to desire to be a godly man, but as the years unfolded, the truth began to surface. He struggled with a sexual addiction, and he was a serial cheater. 2 years into the marriage, I was ready to leave and call it quits, but then I found out I was pregnant. I took that as a sign from God that I needed to stay and fight for this marriage. But what followed was one of the most painful seasons of my life. I was more miserable than ever during the pregnancy. In the final 6 weeks, I packed my things and left. I decided to go stay with my sister in Los Angeles, where I gave birth to my first son. My husband flew in just before the delivery. We reconnected, and I gave the relationship another chance. But over the years, I would leave and return 5 different times. Each time he apologized, he seemed broken, sorry, sincere, and each time I believed him. We had 4 boys together, and I desperately wanted my sons to have their father in their lives. I was caught between what I believed God wanted for me and the trauma I was living in. Some people called me selfish for wanting to leave. Others told me to leave. I didn't know how to process any of it. I felt alone, ashamed, torn between the truth and obligation. So I went inward and stayed silent. As the year passed, the abuse intensified, not just emotionally, but spiritually. We weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas, Easter, or even birthdays because he said they were pagan. I learned not to cry in front of him, not to show anger, not to feel, because silence and emotional shutdown felt safer. He used scripture like a weapon. He knew I was a woman of faith, and he used my devotion to God to control me. People from our faith community would step in and try to help, but their advice was always the same: submit more, love more, pray more. They told me that by honoring my husband, I was honoring God. But the more I tried to fix the marriage, the worse the abuse became. I walked on eggshells every single day at the end. I believed maybe tomorrow would be better. If I changed myself, my behavior, my tone, my body, maybe then things would shift. But they didn't. He'd tell me our dog was more obedient than I was, that I was fat, disobedient. He didn't believe any man should be teaching me scripture except for him. I was confused, exhausted, and in constant survival mode. So, in the end of our relationship, when he began to lose control of me emotionally, he became physically threatening. I finally kicked him out of the house, but a month later, I woke up in the middle of the night with the hairs on the back of my neck standing up. And there he was, standing over me while I slept. I was completely petrified. He whispered, "We're meant to be together. You're a horrible mother for tearing this family apart." Then he woke up our sons and told them, "Your mom is the reason our family is broken." I was shaking. I told him to leave or I'd call the police. He looked me in the eyes and he said, "Go ahead." So I did. I picked up the phone, trembling, and called. While I was on the phone with the police, he ran out of the house. My boys were stunned. That was their father. They were confused, unsettled. And I remember sitting there afterward thinking, did I do the right thing? So after the first break-in, I was given some great advice to change all the locks, and so I did. I also filed for legal separation. Divorce felt terrifying to me. I was afraid I was stepping outside of God's will. I carried guilt, shame, and doubt, even though deep down I knew I needed to protect myself and my boys. And the church at this time was giving me such great support in whatever decision I decided to follow. Then one day he called me and said, "I'm coming home." I told him to stay away. He insisted, "It's my house. Those are my children." I was so scared. I knew by now that he wasn't mentally stable, but I still didn't fully understand what I was dealing with. That morning, the boys were up when he arrived. He tried the front door and realized the locks had been changed. Then he moved to the garage door. I was on the other side, frozen, listening to his fists pound on the door and his voice yelling my name over and over. Then there was silence. And then I saw him at the sliding glass door where my sons were standing. He gently told the boys, "It's okay, you can let me in." I couldn't get there fast enough. One of them unlocked the door before I could stop it. We fought, he pulling to get in and me pushing to get him out. My hand still has a tender spot from where I braced against the frame. The glass door was permanently bowed from the struggle. Eventually, he overpowered me. He forced his way into our home. I ran to the bedroom, desperate to get to the phone, but he caught up with me, threw me down, and yanked the phone out of the wall. I remembered the cell phone my friend gave to me just in case. I grabbed it, ran to the bathroom, tried to lock the door, but he was so much stronger and faster than me, and he broke in again, ripping the phone right from my hand. By then, I had filed court paperwork for custody because he refused to participate in mediation or comply with the court system, believing it was evil. I was granted full legal and physical custody of the boys. The order stated that he could only see the boys if he completed a mental health evaluation and received my permission. He found a copy of those papers, and in front of our sons, he burned them in the backyard. He told them, "This is what your mother and the courts are doing to destroy our family." Then he took the boys. I found one of the phones, called my neighbor in tears, and she came over and called the police. The officers responded immediately, took my statement, and left to go find him. They located him with the boys and arrested him, shielding the kids so they wouldn't have to see it happen. They brought my sons home. I held them like I would never let them go. That moment, despite all the fear, was filled with gratitude. I had finally protected my children. He was jailed that day. He called me several times from jail, begging for help. I didn't answer. Someone posted his bail, and while he was released, the court dismissed the charges for reasons I still don't fully understand. But he never returned to the home. He left the state for good. We also didn't receive child support, but somehow we always made it. I supported 4 boys as a single mother, but I loved them deeply, even though I made a lot of mistakes, and they gave me the strength I didn't know I had. After 10 years as a single mom, I met someone new. He showed up for me, helping with the boys, going to church, fixing things around the house. He read the Bible, prayed with me, cried when he spoke about God. My father, who was a very discerning man of faith, loved him as well. It felt like I had finally found someone safe. 6 months later, we were married. Soon I learned that not all abuse is obvious. After 6 years of marriage, I began to feel something was off. There were no explosive fights, no raised voices, just a slow erosion of my peace, my clarity, and my confidence. It wasn't until I left packing quietly and walking away that the truth was unraveled. He had been living a double life. And in the aftermath, I experienced deep guilt, humiliation, loss of friendships, isolation, financial strain, and ongoing health issues. In my brokenness, God brought someone into my life I never expected, Dina, his first wife. Within minutes of learning I had left him, she reached out. She boldly comforted me and affirmed what I had gone through. "You're not crazy," she said. We shared our pain and, more importantly, our purpose. Dina and I have been preparing for this mission to reach women who are healing, questioning, or stuck in painful relationships. If that's you, we want you to know you don't have to suffer in silence. You are not alone. There is wisdom, healing, and a community waiting for you. And for those walking beside someone in a toxic relationship, we hope to offer insight, empathy, and encouragement while helping you protect your own emotional health along the way. Like many mothers who've walked through trauma, I've carried a deep sense of mom guilt for what my sons endured and how my choices may have affected them. Throughout my relationships, both of my husbands and even ex-boyfriends would say I had too strong of emotional ties with my children? Was it jealousy on their part, or was it the weight of my own guilt and need for closeness with my boys that made me so emotional? Whatever the reason, I've come to realize this much. They were right. There was still healing to do between me and my sons. When I moved from Colorado back to California to be closer to them, something beautiful started to unfold. It hasn't all been sweet or picture perfect. There have been hard conversations, boundaries, emotions, and moments where we each had to face our own pain. But through it all, we've been walking a shared journey of healing. Each of my sons is writing their own story, and as a mother, I'm incredibly proud of the courage, strength, and heart they bring to life. I've released so much of the shame and guilt I once carried, and now my greatest desire is to simply just be present, to remind them that I'm here if they ever need me, and to celebrate their wins, honor their wounds, and witness their growth. We can't change the past. We can't rewrite each other's stories, but what we can do is walk alongside one another as individuals writing our own chapters and as a family creating a legacy of truth, resilience, and love for the next generation.
I was lost in the noise, oh my. But you opened my eyes, share the story of hope began that night. Without a clue of what's coming next, was I guided by hands I couldn't see? Was it written somewhere, part of a